The programme coming up was made by a group of young people from Telford Newtown and Birmingham Film and Video Workshop. It's made on semi-professional video equipment with funds from Channel 4's workshop budget. We started working together 2.5 years ago by taking photos and making posters about issues that we feel to be important. Then we began to collaborate on this programme about home taping.
It was quite a while ago, it must have been over a year now, and Glyn came in with his statement about the records and about home taping being illegal. We thought it was really interesting and a pretty stupid law, and we thought we'd just do something on it, probably a poster or something. So we started off with some slides, put them on the screen over there, and just built up, and then Johnny come back with this idea of doing a video, so here we are.
Well, let's watch it.
The British record industry is the best in the world. Since the days of the Beatles, it has brought you countless new sounds and new styles. But as you know, there is the growing threat of home taping. This is a threat to the music industry as we know it. But it's not only hurting us. Soon there will be less and less records on the shelves. The British record industry depends on you. And remember, home taping is illegal.
Yeah?
We're acting on information that we've received. Could I see your daughter, please?
What for?
We believe that she's breaking the law.
I don't suppose you knew that it was against the law to tape off records or the radio. That's what the record companies say anyway. But if you can't afford the records in the first place, then you've got no choice. I borrow records off my friends and tape off the radio. I reckon it makes sense myself. What I don't understand is why they're saying it's illegal. The next thing they'll be saying is that it's illegal to listen to music altogether.
Official?
Yeah, the only thing is, look, get inside it. There's no later.
I don't believe that joke, do you, Bill?
Well, who's gonna come around and check and go, hey, look, if you take that, you're not allowed to.
Yeah, but
It's Ben, you're not supposed to.
Oh dear, Phil, I'm taking it.
Well, what can I do, Bill? I can get the police back.
You can't arrest you for that.
Virtually every house up this road's got a tape.
Well,
No,
most
they're
houses in Britain must have it.
Yeah.
Most people in the world have got a tape machine of some sort.
I bet they all tape
Yeah.
stuff and all.
Even I do it.
And what about all these adverts on the telly, in the radio, in papers, in shops, in streets? free offers, special offers, all for blank tapes, and then they say it's illegal. What they're telling us it's illegal for. It's pretty stupid when you think about it. Companies that sell blank tapes don't put it's illegal on their tapes. They don't want us to stop home taping. In one shop I went in, they were selling packs of 10 tapes, and as a special offer they were giving away a £3 record token. I mean a record token. And if you buy a record with it, it's only going to say that home taping's killing music and that it's illegal. It's stupid, it is. Every house you go in, there's a row of tapes that people have recorded for themselves. Even in that pub I was in last week, behind the bar, they were playing home tapes. And then he says we were under 18, get out. And there he was, breaking the law himself.
Casey and the Sunshine Band, their album...
Huh, I suppose you thought that was funny talking over that record, just to spoil it for everybody taping it.
And the number for you to ring to join in the discussion with your opinions, your questions, perhaps even your experiences is 01580.
The radio's always saying give us a ring with your questions, so we rang them up and asked why home taping was illegal.
Excuse me, I was wondering if I could speak to the DJ that's on now.
Why?
I'd like to ask about home taping.
About what?
Pardon?
About what, sorry?
Home taping.
Home taping?
Yeah.
Well, what's he got to do? He's very busy at the moment. What do you want to know?
I want the legal side of it.
The legal side of home taping?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of checking up in the local library?
No, I haven't.
No, well, there's probably details or anything that's got legal matters in it. Or your town hall or something.
So isn't it possible to speak to anybody?
Well, they're very busy and I wouldn't make.
Can you hear them talking about us, telling lies? Is that a surprise? Can you see them, see right through them? They have a shield, nothing must be revealed.
Who's calling?
My name's Glenn.
Mr. Glynn?
Yeah.
Right, and you're a member of the public, are you?
Yeah. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Mr. Glynn?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello?
My name is and I'm the chief assistant up here. I gather you've got a query about home taping.
Yeah, I was just wondering really what, you think about it, home taping off the radio.
Well, it's illegal.
Well, yeah. Can I speak to someone about home taping, please?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, you are the man, are you?
Well, go on, go on.
Right. I was wondering about the legal side of it, about why it's illegal and what you think about it.
Well, I mean, it's up to you, really, isn't it?
Well, what do you mean?
What would you want to actually do?
Well, if I was to home tape, like,
Yeah.
I mean, what could I happen to me, like, if I was caught doing it?
Well, at the moment, it's pretty severe.
Is it?
Yeah, it's getting worse and worse, yeah.
Oh, how come it's getting worse?
Well, they're just more strict on it, you know.
Oh, because that's one,
I
because
mean, obviously, if you're going to home tape, you know, you're going to cut their sales then, aren't you?
Well, no, not really, because, I mean, if I tape a record, I mean, I've got to
Yeah,
buy
but you're
the
not buying the record, are you?
Oh, well, say I bought the record and home taped it then, to use, like, instead of buying the music cassette.
I think really it's up to you, you know, if you want to take the risk, just take the risk. It's up to you.
Oh. Hello, you still there?
Sorry?
Oh, I just wondered, I thought you'd gone.
No.
I mean, what do you think about it then, I mean?
We rang up lots of other people, but in the end we never got a straight answer. Some of them told us to speak to the BPI, because they're the organisation that puts it's illegal on record sleeves. So, off we went down to London. Oh, there, so let's look at the place. Do you reckon they're trying to tell us something with this?
Five, four, three, two, one, go.
Why is the statement that home taping is killing music printed on record sleeves?
The statement originated just over a couple of years ago as part of the BPI's continuing lobbying programme to persuade Parliament that the copyright laws needed amending. What it really means is that if the record industry loses money as a result of people taping at home, then of course there's less investment in new acts and bands, and eventually less records are made and there's less music. And I suppose that to take it to the ultimate, if people are taping at home, there'll be no incentive for anybody to make records anymore, which means that there'll be less music available.
Is home taping illegal?
Home taping infringes copyright because it's an infringement of copyright to make a copy of a record or a tape. And any creative person, be he a composer or a writer or a film producer or a record producer, depends on copyright to protect his livelihood.
We went to ask Paul Weller of the Style Council if he thinks that home taping is killing music.
Well, I mean, obviously I prefer people to go and buy me records and that, but at the same time I also realise that some people probably don't, you know. I mean, I tape, you know, I home tape as well, you know, everybody does, don't they? It's obvious, because there's some things, maybe you'll get an LP where you only like 2 tracks or something, you know, you don't really particularly want to buy the whole LP. Or maybe you'll hear the radio one day and you'll just hear 1 track or something, you know, you may just want to tape it. I mean, you know, I don't see how I don't think they're going to be able to really stop it, you know.
You reckon it is killing music? Because that's what they
No,
say.
it's not killing music. I mean, when record companies say that, all they're talking about is that if they lose a profit, that they were down like, you know, 4 million or something last year, you know. They only made like £17 million profit or something, you know. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
So I wonder how much the BPI think that the record industry is losing.
The latest figures tend to indicate that the loss to rights owners, who are the people who have the copyrights in either the record or the song, amounts to something like £100 million a year. In terms of lost profits, which is a different thing, the figure would probably be nearer £300 million a year.
We heard that the BPI were trying to get this 300 million back by trying to get the government to put a levy on blank tapes. This means that tapes will cost twice as much.
if records were cheaper, people would buy them more. No, you'd have more people go out and buy them.
Yeah, at the moment it's cheap as what, tape, isn't it? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's a tape? Good quid.
And you can get more songs than the tape.
Yeah,
you
can
on
you
the
put a couple of
record.
LPs You can get C90 for a quid, can't you?
Yeah.
You can put a couple of LPs on.
Town, you can get 3 for a quid.
Unless you crease up the tape inside the cassette, it'll last forever. It won't crease up or nothing. With a record, you can get your little brother sitting on it. You can get anything happen to it. Just crack up after about a month. With a tape, it's all right. A tape's small. Put it in your back pocket. Go around your mate's house. Put in the cassette recorder, and you're dancing in 10 minutes, and yeah. It's just a load of bullshit what they say about the law about not recording records because it's doing the companies out the money, because it's just woolly crap. Because some people can't afford to buy the albums themselves, right? They can't afford to buy the records.
Survival, survival, survival. They smile in your face and they talk behind your back. And when you get the story, it's never exact. Some say they're your friends, but they really are not, because they're only out to try and get what you've got. Survival. Only the slimes, quarters, dollar bills. Who's making all the money? Cash money. Who's making all the cash? Who's making all the money? Cash money. Who's making all the cash?
Home taping is illegal, right? But the people who make the tapes have got to be making a fortune.
Are the blank tape sales on the increase at all?
No, they're not. Over the last 4 years, blank tape sales have remained more or less static at between 50 and 55 million cassettes. The growth area in our business has been in the use within business, in medical research. Computer technology is an enormous new area for us.
What does the TMG do?
Well, the Tape Manufacturers Group represents the interests of the major blank tape manufacturers in Britain, and it was formed in May 1981. And the idea of the group is to oppose pressure by the record companies for a levy to be introduced on sales of blank tape. Now, at the moment, the average price of a 60-minute cassette is £1. So what they're saying is they want a levy that would double the cost of a tape. And let's get this very clear. We're talking about a tax, a £1 tax on a £1 tape, and that tax would go directly to record companies to subsidize them. And they're in business, presumably, to back their judgment, make profits if they can, and so on. They're asking in this proposal for the public to subsidize their own private commercial interests. We find that totally unacceptable. I think you've got to look at the historical context. Record companies enjoyed their best sales during the late 60s, early 70s, when the Beatles and Rolling Stones were world sellers. Since then, there's been, if you like, a fall in groups of mass popular appeal. But there are other reasons why, much more fundamental reasons why sales have fallen. One is the recession. Young people, which are obviously the major market for particularly popular music, aren't able to buy the number of records that they used to. The whole basis on which people buy records has changed from, if you like, the early 70s and 60s. Then buying a record to a certain extent was almost a cultural event. People had to have the music. But if the record companies would move with the times a bit more, for example, the headphones, personal stereo, Walkman systems, that's a whole new market. People can now listen to music in the bath, mowing the lawn, riding a bike or whatever. That's a whole new market for record companies. But the crucial element there is a cassette.
What do you think of the one-on-one cassettes that were recently marketed?
Well, I think you should really ask the record company responsible for that. They certainly felt that by issuing a cassette with an artist recording on one side and a blank tape on the other, that would appeal to the public, and presumably it did.
Hello.
you tell us about the 1+1 tapes?
Well, we were very interested in actually promoting cassettes. We feel that in terms of the actual quality of cassettes, they've really grown in proportion to the quality of records. And we had an idea 2 years ago to actually put together what became to be known as the 1+1 cassette, in which you got the whole album of an artist on both sides of the cassette. And one side gave you the facility to actually tape over if you wished.
Does Ireland have the same views as other record companies as far as home taping is concerned?
Well, we do actually follow the BPI line. We're a member of the BPI, and we follow their line as far as home taping is concerned, because it is costing the industry a lot of money. Estimates range of around £100 million a year. But our angle as far as the 1+1 tapes and chrome tapes were concerned was actually to market and promote the value of cassettes and the actual quality of cassettes. So rather than us sitting around and gnashing our teeth over the amount of money we were losing to home taping, was actually go out there and be aggressive in our marketing and try and claw back people who would possibly go out and buy a couple of blank tapes. We would rather they went out and bought one of our tapes, and they also would have had the facility of recording over the other side if they wished.
The industry hasn't supported the 1+1 format, which was basically introduced a few years ago by one particular record company on the basis that if you can't beat the home tapers, why don't you join them?
We couldn't understand what the fuss was about at the time, because a lot of record companies put pressure on the company that issued that music cassette and asked them to withdraw it. The reason why we couldn't see anything wrong with it is that the moment you can buy music cassettes with music on, and you can also buy blank tape. What is wrong in putting the two together?
We couldn't see anything wrong with it either. In fact, we can't see anything wrong with blank tapes at all. So we went along to see some people who use tapes all of the time.
Do you think home taping should be illegal?
I don't actually know many musicians who think home taping should be illegal. I think it's only a sort of upper strata of musicians who are probably completely out of touch with the way people use their music, who are keen on this levy being imposed or an attempt to make it completely illegal. Every musician has to accept that there's a point where they lose control of their own music. And that's the point where people are using music in a variety of ways which you can't legislate. And I think at the moment there's a desire for a virtual complete control. And you just can't do it with music. You actually find there's a great pleasure in home taping, right? Because you start to find that you can put all kinds of sounds together. It's just like creative mixing. Right, so you probably end up making up cassettes of, you know, African music and Latin music and funk and reggae and, you know, wildlife sounds and train noises and all kinds of stuff, you know, completely crazy kind of mixes.
Sunday, Sunday.
For me, the symbol of home taping is like the pause button, right? Because the pause button is the most simple way of making up compilations on the simplest kind of domestic machine, right? Just one, you know, like portable stereo or something. If you've got a pause button, then you can make up quite slick compilations of stuff you like. But the same kind of process that's going on in disco mixing these days anyway, but you can do it yourself. Home-produced compilations are
are like the 80s equivalent of 60s auto changes on dance set record players. You know, people used to buy singles and then they'd stack up 10 singles for a party or to listen to, and they'd just bang through. These days people have got stereos mostly without auto changes, and they make up cassettes for parties.
Every day we'd come back and play the same record, and by a couple of weeks we'd get bored of it.
You get bored of them, and you don't want to play them again, so you have to do something to change the sound of it.
Yeah. So that's why I started mixing them and scratching to it. What way would we be if we didn't have the mixing? We wouldn't have an incentive to dance.
No tape with no dance group, because you know, it motivates us as a group to dance better. That's what I think.
Which colleague? You got what? Rubbish.
On the back of the record, it's got taping is illegal, but still they publish blank tapes.
Yeah, and why do they publish blank tapes?
What the tape? Exactly.
Money's tight for everyone nowadays, and mixing it could just save us money.
They say mixing's against the law, but come on lads, we gotta mix some more.
Electrophonic music, jazz, funk is here. You know they just don't care. But breaking to the music of the sonic beat. To put all the Wild Flash crew back on their feet. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Everybody, who? Everybody, who? Don't pop. Everybody, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Wild Flash crew.
Tape is a crucial part of the group because we need the music. Because you wouldn't, on the streets, you wouldn't go and carry a big amplifier in your hand and dancing. You'd have to need something small, if you know what I mean.
Funk records are what we have, right? They're not really properly sort of advertised like on radio, television and all this, right? So every time we play our music, right, in a mix and a mixed versions, right, all about the place, therefore it's publicity, right? Therefore people's gonna say, come on, let's go and buy that music, man, it was hard, did you see them guys dancing to it? You know what I mean? So in a way, they're not losing out money, they're getting free publicity.
It's interesting, you know, that nearly all the research that's been done into the subject of the effect of a levy has been done by the music industry. And a detailed survey that we commissioned a couple of years ago showed very conclusively that the amount of money that the public are prepared to pay for tapes is very much higher than they're having to pay at the moment, and that the price would have to go up well beyond what it would be with the sort of levy that we're talking about before there's any consumer resistance.
But from my point of view, I think it's going to be very difficult to get an MP to actually support the proposal of a levy being put on something like a cassette, because it's just going to increase the price in the shops. And this government have been returned with a primary view to getting inflation down.
Do you think that the levy on tapes would be the answer to home taping?
Well, the question is, who does the money go to if there's a levy? The people who get the money are the people who are making all the money anyway. So, quite honestly, I can't see it as being a fair distribution of the supposed wealth that's being lost by home taping. No, I don't think a levy is. I think it penalises people who use cassettes legitimately.
We run a tape label called Forbidden Fruits, and we're also in a band called Curse of Eve. And most people or bands are puppets controlled by the record company, but with us it's the other way around. This is our manager, and he's the puppet. We started just using tapes to do with our own band, and then we met lots of other bands who made demo tapes and sold them, sometimes with badges and books, and we decided to do a compilation. So we wrote to all the women we knew who were in bands, sent them a letter, and got them to send tapes back. That's the sort of thing we get sent, the information sheets and lyrics. And and then we've got to copy them all and make them into a nice booklet. In order. And we've got to make them into some sort of package. If they put the price of tapes up, we won't be able to afford to do this anymore.
The thing is that if they put a levy on tapes, it'll just double the price, and so people won't be able to afford to buy them, and they won't be able to find out what these bands have got to say. So what these bands have got to say will just be lost.
Tactical movement, skillful plan. Keep her in check, 'cause you're the man.
Manipulate.
Deal with skill, deal with tact, deal with woman from the bottom of the pact.
Manufacture.
Make a date and make the rules, 'cause only fools will use the rules.
Mannequin.
The body talk, let the body tell. Of flesh, not brains, that makes the product sell.
Manacle.
Chain to the cooker, chain to the sink. Happy with her nappy, woman doesn't think.
Manicure.
Handle with care, when you care for those hands.
'Cause hands that do dishes should also be man's.
What we're doing is legal.
And it's creative.
We're spreading ideas.
We don't see why we should pay a levy.
It'll all just go to the record companies.
It'll just go to bands like the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, the Stones. I see a red door and I want to paint it black.
Where do you think the money should go? Because we've had other ideas that maybe it should be put in sort of a workshop for young musicians that are just starting off, you know.
Well, what about old musicians?
Well, I know.
For old codgers like me.
It's a little print on you, Jane.
But I just found saw this in the paper the other day. It says the video industry is considering putting a levy of up to £1 on every tape it sells, videotapes, right? The proceeds would go to a fund for the making of films, helping to replace the official ED levy on cinema tickets.
What's the ED levy?
Well, every time you go to the cinema, apparently you pay this levy on the price of the cinema ticket. And they use that money to help people like the British Film Institute, the National Film Finance Corporation and the National Film School. It says here that virtually every British director and producer today has been helped by the National Film Finance Corporation at the start of his career.
So why don't they do something like that with the levy? I mean, to put the money to good use, and the money won't be pocketed by the record companies.
It's a great idea, but I mean, I don't think, I just can't see it happening because, you know, those people in control aren't interested in doing that, I don't think, anyway. So I just think, yeah, I mean, you know, if you're not going to get that, if you're not going to get what you suggested, you know, I guess you should just leave it as it is, because I don't think it's really hurting anyone in the end. I know there's talk, you know, about killing live music, and, you know, it's rubbish, you know.
After talking to all these people, we're still not sure where we stand with this levy. Obviously, people in the music business are going to be losing out because of us home taping. But home taping isn't the only problem. We reckon it's a fight between two businesses. Now, we're worried that the government are going to let them try and put the prices up even more.
And then we won't be able to afford blank tapes, let alone records.
Baby, why leave me all alone? And if it wasn't for the music, I don't know what I'd do. Yeah. Last night a DJ saved my life. Last night a DJ saved my life from a broken heart. Last night a DJ saved my life. Last night a DJ saved my life with a song. You know, I hopped into my car, didn't get very far, no. Before I had you on my mind, why be so unkind? Last night a DJ saved my life. Last night a DJ saved my life from a broken heart. Last night a DJ saved my life. Last night a DJ saved my life with a song. Hey, listen up to your local DJ. You better hear what he's got to say.
There's not a problem that I can't fix, 'cause I can do it in the mix. And if your man gives you trouble just to move out on the double, and you don't let it trouble your brain, 'cause away goes trouble down the drain. Said away goes trouble down the drain.
So if there are any government people watching, this is what we think you should know.
Well, all right.
Well, 1, we don't think that you should put the prices up because you can't afford it. 2, if you do bring in a levy, at least consider other alternatives than just giving it to the record companies, because we want to know where our money's being used.
There's not a problem that I can't fix, 'cause I can do it in the mix. 'Cause I can do it in the mix. 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 In the mix.